Variables are like placeholders that can be used to store temporary data. There are variables on the front end and on the back end of your app, but in this tutorial we are going to look at front-end variables only. To create a new variable, click on the Variables button here. This will pop out the front-end variables panel. If you've started from a template, you will see a list of variables that already exist here. Click Add App Variable to create a new variable. This brings up a pop-up window where you can create a name for your variable, choose the type of data that you want to store inside your variable, and set an initial value for your variable. In my case, I'm going to set the variable name equal to new app user, set the type equal to text, and then give the variable an initial value of, say, Bob Dylan, and then click Save. After I click Save, I can reopen my new variable by clicking on the Variables button here, and then searching for the variable, and then clicking on it. This will bring up the variable settings. So right now this variable, new app user, is storing the name Bob Dylan inside of it. I can now use this variable directly inside my app. To do this, I can select a text element on my page that I would like to turn into a variable. In my case, I'm going to choose this span element here. If I click the cog button here above the span element, this brings up the settings for the element. As you can see here, this span element is bound to some static text. I can update this static text here, or alternatively, I can bind the span element to my new app user text variable so that the span element will display the contents of my variable. To do this, click this letter T. This will bring up the element binding browser. Choose the option variable and search for the new app user variable. Select a variable and click OK. You will see that the text in the span element has now updated to display this placeholder value. If I rebuild my app's code by clicking the Build Code button here, and once my code has been built, I can then go over to my live app and refresh my page. You can see that the placeholder value has now been replaced with the contents of my variable. This process of creating a new variable and attaching the variable to an element on your app's front end is known as variable binding. Variables can be bound to any element on your app's front end. In the next lesson, we will look at something called two-way variable binding and see how this can be used to take inputs from our app's users and display this input as output data in our app.